to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. Talking Heads is a platform on USA Global TV where we have leaders from around the world who come and present a lesson to help make us better people. And I'm thrilled to be the person that gets to start off this show introducing our team members who are truly amazing. Our team member today, Mariska du Preez, she is a co-host, she is a talking head, and she's an elevated listener here at USA Global TV. She has an engineering background, she is a leadership and transformation coach, and she is my personal and business coach. So let us welcome her to the show and find out what she'll be sharing with us today. Welcome, Mariska.
Hello, Dr. Jacqueline, and hello to everybody listening today. I am really happy to be here with you today.
I am thrilled that you are here also. I can't believe this is, I think, the third Talking Head series that you've done, isn't it?
It is the third one for this time that we have together, and well, we have quite a history, so there's been quite a few other things that we've been up to before this.
Absolutely. I think we've been working together for 3 years. And for those who don't know, who are just joining us for the first time, Mariska knows I love to say this. She's on New Zealand. She's you're on New Zealand, right? Yes.
Yes, I am streaming live from New Zealand. So we are literally on the other side of the world.
And what I love is you have really good Wi-Fi there, really good service, because there's never a glitch, thank goodness.
Yes, I am very grateful for the internet service that is provided to us. And luckily, I'm in a spot where it is really good. There is areas where if you want to detox from any interruptions in your life, you can go to areas where you do not get any Wi-Fi signal or any cell reception whatsoever. But luckily for me, that's not where I stay at the moment. So that's good.
That's wonderful, because you are such the consummate professional that we couldn't have anything that wasn't a top level quality for you. So Mariska, I just want our audience to know that if they would like to know what you'll be presenting on each week, they can go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com. And across the top, it says Talking Heads. And you just go there and you can find out all about Mariska as well as her lessons. And you can actually watch the show there as well. So Mariska, I'm going to spotlight you and put up your deck, and I'll be backstage producing and just enjoying the show.
Thank you. And I am so excited for another awesome communication lesson for today. So what we're going to look at today is color. It's something that sometimes we think about. We might have it in our awareness just a tad, but for the most part, we go through life and don't really think about color too much. It's part of our existence, and we sort of get used to it. So there's been quite a lot of research done in different areas around color, the use of color, how it influences us, how it's formed, and all the rest of it. But before we get into any more of that information, I have a question for you. And my question is, what is your favorite color? So I know that when I asked that question, most of us had a color in mind. Immediately, it just came up, right? It might be your color that you had from childhood that you are very attached to, or you might have grown to love another type of color. But we have a color that we favor. And this, we have found, is a very personal thing. So for each person, our color that we favor would be influenced by our culture, our upbringing, our age, our sex. There's a very wide variety of things that impact the colors that we are drawn to. Even things like light sensitivity can impact the way that we perceive and actually interact with color. So now I know there is some of you that at the moment are only listening. And then there's some of us that would be listening and watching the wee little slides that we have. So when you do have time, I would suggest that you go back to this lesson and have a look at the slides, because the next part, I want you to concentrate really on the color of each slide and become aware of what this color does to you in your thinking, in your emotional state, in your body, how it feels within you, just as we go through each and every slide. So let's start. So with the research that's been done, they mainly focus a lot on reds and blues. The other hues they haven't focused on as much. So we know a little bit more about those two, but they are starting to broaden the spectrum. Some of the very interesting things that we do know about the colors is some of the emotions that come up for us. Now, as I said, our connection to color is a lot related to our surroundings, how we grew up, the environment that we are in, and some other factors within ourselves. So when we look at the color red, we might think about Valentine's Day, or we might think about blood, or we might think about a very passionate conversation. And this might be a passionate conversation in the sense that there's a lot of love in the conversation, or it might be a passionate conversation because, well, it's sort of to the other side of the scale of that conversation. It might be very angry. So looking at red, we can see that there's a lot of passion in it. There's a lot of excitement in it. There's youthfulness in it. When we think about love and Valentine's Day and stuff like that, it's very, very bold. And in a lot of cultures, it's also used to highlight urgent or very dangerous situations. Even when we think of the animal kingdom, our insects that has wee little bits of red in them, normally, preferably, do not touch, right? They can be quite dangerous. So red has a few different ways that it can come up for us. So when we use red, we need to take all of those different factors into consideration. So maybe wanting to paint our whole bedroom red might be a little bit too much. It might not actually be conducive to us resting. So the next color is orange. Now, when you think about orange, it's not quite as bold as red, a little bit more subdued. It feels a bit more friendly. It feels a bit more welcoming, but it's still very confident in what it's saying. It is also a color that will still come up with some form of warning sign, again, in nature, although we also get orange flowers that attracts insects because of their color. So orange is a very versatile color, a little bit less in your face than red would be. And for most people, they have a tendency to be drawn either more to red or more to orange. You do get cases that we like both because both have their place. So when we also look at color, we will see that, and you would notice on some of the slides, I have brands that used that color in their branding. So in red, we had Coca-Cola. It's written in red. And It's been that way for, well, pretty much forever. Orange, we have Harley Davidson. So when you think about Harley Davidson, it's fun, but you're confident, right? It's there, it's sort of in your face still. And that's a lot about what the color actually conveys about that specific brand. That would go the same for our environment, areas that we live or things that we surround ourselves with. The next color is yellow. And yellow is my father's favorite color, and I could never quite understand why. But once I started doing some of the research, I figured out fairly quickly why he enjoys yellow so much. So yellow is a very happy color. It's very energetic. It's really fun and optimistic. It reminds us of sunflowers and summer days, and your emojis on your phone has wee little yellow faces normally, right? So it has all of those aspects of fun and energy in it that we can really, really enjoy. And my dad is quite a fun-loving person. So yellow quite made sense once I got more into the research of it. So yellow also is one of those colors that wake our brain up, and it helps us to concentrate a little bit more because it wakes us up. So this might be a color that you can use when you're doing presentations to highlight things, or to make it just a little bit more, stand out a little bit more in the rest of the texts that you have, or if you want to highlight something. And of course, brand-wise, the McDonald's M is yellow, right? And that's a fun place to be. So they keep telling us. So the next color we have is green. With green, this is a color that is a lot more peaceful. So the first bunch of colors that we did is all the warm colors. So when you look at color, it's divided into two sort of feeling types. So you have your warm colors, which is your reds and oranges and yellows. And then you have your cooler colors, which is your greens and your blues and your purples. So green is our very first cooler color. It's also the color that you find in nature quite a lot. It's a very peaceful color. It's very balanced. And when we think about green, we think about plants and growth and things connected to that sort of environment. So when we see, for instance, John Deere, which those people that are not aware what a John Deere is, it is a tractor brand, and they have green, right? So the whole vehicle and all its implements are all green. And it's farm equipment. So that sort of makes sense. Then we also have Starbucks. So Starbucks is also in the green family for those coffee lovers amongst us. And green is also one of those colors that we see a lot when we think about environmentally friendly environments. They have a tendency to have more greens within their logos, within their buildings, within their surroundings. Green, normally for us as human beings, also help us to calm and have a more settling sort of effect on us. So when we go into nature or when we surround ourselves with more green, it really helps to calm us down. Then, of course, we have blue. So with blue, there's a lot of corporations that use blue within their logos. And blue is also something that when you have a look at TV series and people just in general do have a tendency to wear a lot of blue. And the reason for this is blue has a dependent, trustworthy, professional feel about it. It is also the color of the sky, and it's also the color of the ocean. So it has a calming effect on us as well. Hence why a lot of people do utilize blue. Again, a word of caution with blue, and this is one of the areas where research has been a little bit more prominent. With blue, it can also, if we utilize it too much, or you sort of don't have the correct intentionality when you're using it, blue can also be the emotion I'm feeling blue, right? So going more into a depression sort of state. So do be careful how you use this color. Same with red. So it can be a lot of passion and love, and it actually helps us to raise our heart rate, but it can also indicate danger. So just being intentional with how we're using the color. And then, of course, we have purple. Now, purple is one of the few colors that we do not see in nature a lot. There is hints of purple in some flowers, but that's about where you see purple. Purple isn't a color that is abundant in nature. There might also be a couple of trees that has purple in some of their leaves. So purple normally for most people indicate royalty and luxury. It's also indicative of creativity and a little bit of the imagination and the mystical. So there's a special feeling about purple because we don't find it in nature so often. And then we have our more neutral colors. Now, when we talk about neutral colors, color, of course, comes from light, right? And when we look at just pure light, it's white. But when we take the pure light and we put it through a prism, we have that rainbow effect, and it breaks it up into different pieces. So this is where the neutrals comes in, as our light and our dark totally only the light bit, so all the colors basically in one, and the dark totally devoid of. So when we think of black, right, the color black is associated with classic, elegant, powerful. So thinking about Mercedes, for instance, that is a lot of the emotion that you get when you think of that brand. Black can also be fear. So being very intentional with the way that you use black, right? Then, of course, on the other side, we have the white. So white, very simplistic, very pure, and it's clear. There's a clarity about it. It doesn't have any frills about it. So that is what white is there for. Now, again, color is very much related to our environment, our upbringing, and our culture. So in some cultures, white indicates a joyful occasion. It might be used at christenings and weddings and happy occasions, whereas in other cultures, white is used in mourning. So being conscious of how the environment around us interact with different colors are also really, really important. And that brings us to the next thing that I would love you guys to do. So I've drawn up a little spreadsheet, and it's just the easy way to evaluate and be intentional with our use of color. So when you think about color, think, for instance, about your work environment. So we might be very fortunate and have a work environment that's very vibrant and there's a lot of color around. The walls are actually painted in a color and not just white or gray. And in other cases, we are not so fortunate and the walls might be a little bit boring. There's not a lot of color around. Everything is sort of one tone, and it just feels a bit sad. So that's another place where we can actually intentionally use color. Right, so our environment, being intentional about our work environment and thinking about, okay, so what is it that I actually want my work environment to feel like? How am I going to utilize color to help me with that? So that might be, I want it to feel professional and engaging, right? I want my work environment to be a professional work environment and an engaging work environment. Now, which colors would help me to do that? For my work environment, I identified that blue would do that really well. And I will pair it with a yellow or an orange in order to make sure that I have those wee little pops. Now, I'm not going to paint everything blue and have blue everywhere, right? It's the main color that I'm using, but it's not the only color that I'm using. I will also use neutrals. So I'll also use blacks and whites, and I might pop in a bit of brown every now and again. Of course, I have plants all over, so there would be green too. Color that I might decide not to utilize so much would be the color red. So it is, for whatever reason, not the color that I want to utilize within my workspace, other than maybe only using it for urgent or emergency type of things, so that we as a workforce are very clear on how we're using that specific color. And then we make notes on just why it is that we want to use different colors certain ways and being very intentional of doing that. So we can do that with our work environment. We can do that with the emails that we sent out, the colors that you use within your emails. If you have subscribe buttons, or if you maybe want to highlight a certain piece of text, whatever the case might be, being intentional in how you use the color that you're going to use within your emails. And then, of course, preferably we would have a relaxing environment somewhere within our house, or work environment even, if we can. So being intentional with the color use in that environment and our clothing. So yeah, I am going to show you the color wheel. So what the color wheel is, basically, I know most of us done some form of the color wheel at some point within school. So the color wheel basically looks at your basic colors, which is blue, yellow, and red. And then when you mix them, you get green, orange, and purple. And you can divide those even more up. So each color will do something for us when we wear them. So remember, color is not only a spectrum that you see. It is an energy. It's wavelengths, right? They radiate. You can actually, there's experiments that they did, and you can actually perceive color with your skin. So it's not only with your eyes that you would get color. And I want you to realize this, because that makes a difference on what we wear and how we surround ourselves with color. So in the color wheel, you guys can go back and have a look at the slide again and see which colors it is that you might maybe incorporate into your wardrobe. And it might be something as simple as wearing a different color scarf. or maybe putting on a pair of socks of a color that you would normally not have a shirt of in your cupboard. But wanting the benefit from that color, putting it on somewhere to be able to reap the benefit of the color that you are wearing. So being intentional with what we do. This brings us to our awareness and intention slide. So what we've done today during this lesson is first create a little bit of awareness around color and how it works. And what I want you to think about when you think about the awareness is just firstly, what's happening with me, right? This is a color. How am I reacting to this color? What's happening with me? And different colors are going to have different impacts and different effects on you, and that's okay. Being aware of it helps you to make sure that you can bring more or less of that into your life. And that's really what we want to make sure that we do. So we can be intentional with the way that we approach this. Also ask yourself, what colors enhances your positive energy, right? We want to use color to help us. So the best way for us to use it to help us is to see which colors helps our positive energy, and then also experiment and see which colors help those around us to actually help their positive energy. So being aware of what it does to ourselves and being aware of what it does to other people. And then we can become intentional with it. So what's my intention when I'm using this specific color? What would be the color that would serve us best in this situation or in this environment? So if I'm creating a relaxing space at home where I'm going to relax with my family, is red going to be the best color for us to use in that space? Will it really help us to relax? Or do I need to look at a different color? Do I maybe want to use yellow? Will that help me to relax or just have fun? So being very intentional with the way that I use color in my environment in general for myself and for those around me, because that is part of the fun of living. We can create what we want in our life. And that brings us to the end of our lesson today on color. I hope that you guys learned a little bit more and became a bit more aware of what's going on around you in your color spectrum, as well as how you can utilize color to benefit yourself and those around you to actually become better in your communication and just in life in general.
Nicely done. I love the graphics also, and I love the birds in the background.
Thank you. Yes, it's one thing that I have no control over whatsoever. Sometimes they pitch up and they chirp away in the background, and other days they go to other places.
Well, they sound very happy, so they're very happy with your presentation also. Mariska, I was thinking as you were talking, you were showing the different colors. I was thinking of what was coming up for me when I saw the various colors. And I also thought about the background that we have here and the different shades of blue. I think also it depends on what the shade is. So the last slide you just had with that sort of turquoise and the yellow, when I look at that shade of blue, I feel like it reminds me of a beautiful, clear ocean that I can walk and see if there's anything around. And I say to myself, you better get out of the water because there's something over there. I love that. Very peaceful. And when I see this other blue that we have behind us, there's sort of that blue there too. But the other blue I feel sort of peaceful. I think other shades of blue could make you feel a little sad or depressed. You had mentioned that.
Yes.
And
And
then,
I think it's a lot about the shading. As you
yeah,
mentioned, I mean, the background that we have, there's about 3 or 4 different shades of blue in there.
absolutely. And as one of our team members would tell us, Kim Adele over there in the UK, there's so much research that goes into branding and looking at the colors and what comes up for people. And of course, some of our favorite brands have red and
Yep.
black, for example, like Netflix. I always think of them with the black and red, very powerful. And so I thought your presentation was great. And I also like that color wheel. My favorite color is purple. I feel like
Ooh.
it reminds me of, I don't know, royalty, just regal. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't see a lot of branding in purple. Do you?
Branding in purple, you have Cadbury's. So Cadbury's the chocolate, they branded in purple.
Oh, Cadbury's. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you have um, Hallmark is also branded in purple. So there is purple in branding, but not as much as some of the other colors. And I think what you have mentioned about the red, there's a lot of branding in red. And interestingly enough, certain industries will brand more in certain colors than others. So if you look at a lot of the sports brands, there would be blacks and reds mostly in those. Whereas when you look at a lot of the tech brands, so Intel, IBM, Dell, they've got a lot of blues in their brands. So it also is, some industries have a tendency to go more towards some colors than others. And it's a lot about what they want to be saying. So
Yes.
we want our internet and our technology to be stable and reliable and all of those things. So if they're not, right, might not be great. So blue is a pretty good color for them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think going back to red, I feel like red evokes emotion. So when I put on red lipstick, first of all, for any of you who've never worn red lipstick, it's not easy, by the way. It bleeds, it's running, it's just, you have to use your lip liner. You have to, if you drink something, it's a pain in the neck. It's a lot of work. But when you wear red, it's like, hey, I'm showing up today. Here I am. And I think you are immediately forced to transport yourself into that state of confidence and power, because you could see that red suit hanging in your closet and feel like, I don't think I have it today.
Yeah.
But then you put it on, you're like, yes, look at me, world, I've arrived.
Exactly. The color also make it, it's not only a it helps you to get into the emotion too. So it's not only that you need to feel the emotion for you to wear it. So I need to feel passionate or powerful to wear red, but when I actually put on the red, that would also help me to feel that emotion more. A word of caution, though, is if you are feeling really not in the space for that color, I would suggest not necessarily put it on immediately, because it might feel draining after a while.
That's a very good point.
Also being intentional with how we use our color. So maybe red might not be the color for today, but orange might work.
That's true. And by the way, I want our audience to know that you and I are twinning, I think is the expression with our nail polish color. So
Yep.
can you see, you had shared, I saw your nails and I thought they look beautiful. And I said, what color is that? And you told me. And so I got it immediately. And I didn't do the white, but so we're both wearing a shade of lavender.
Yes.
And since you're the one who started with it, what was the impetus for you to wear purple?
Well, for me, I enjoy playing with different colors on my hands, especially. I won't easily wear red on my fingers, but I have a tendency to wear all sorts of other colors on my fingers. And I I was painting my toenails a dark purple the other day, and I thought, well, what would work well with my toes? And then I rediscovered my wee little lavender. I thought, yep, they work well. So lavender it was.
You know, it's funny. You just shared that you don't like to wear red, and I wear red nail polish all the time. And when I got this, I was thinking about how am I going to pair my lipstick? I'm like, I'm not. But when I wear the red, I feel very confident, but I also feel like I have to carry myself a certain way. And when I have this lovely lavender on, I feel more feminine. I feel more approachable, even though there's no one approaching me behind the screen in this room. But isn't it funny though when you think about the color, what what it brings up for us?
Yes, that is interesting. I will do a bit of an experiment with myself and just paint my nails red for change. I think I have done that twice in my lifetime that they were red, but actually painting them red and seeing how I feel and just how that color, because it's a little pop of color, it's not a lot, right? It's not a red coat, it's just a bit of red nail polish. And living with it for a day or two and seeing how that influences my showing up in the world too. Because I do think that it makes a big difference, the colors that even nail polish. It's something we wear, right? Something on your nail that's with you. And you look at it every now and again. That's part of the fun of it.
It's true. And I also find myself looking at women's nails, and there's so many colors, right? There's a whole industry, I'm sure, of people who just sit there and come up with names for various colors. And sometimes I think we have the exact same colors that they're just recirculating with new names, and it's like, oh wow, that's a cool name, I need to get that. And you get it home, you go, wow, that looks like the other 3 bottles I have with similar names. But anyway, when I do see someone wearing a color that I haven't worn, like for example, blue
Mm-hmm.
or green, I think to myself, what is the message that they're putting out there about themselves? Because I do think it is a reflection, again, of our emotions and what
Yeah.
we're feeling. And I've seen yellow, and I know you were talking about yellow in the McDonald's M, and also, I guess the connotation is that McDonald's is a fun place to go to, right? It's bright and cheery, and
Yeah.
you're going to feel sunshine. And so I guess yellow nail polish, I really don't know, honestly. I was going to say, I just don't
it
know. I don't.
it might be that they want to feel happy and cheerful.
Yes.
I personally do not have green or yellow nail polish. I have blue. I do have blue. A variety of different shades of blue, actually. Um, and I have actually seen somebody was wearing a green, and I thought, oh, I would have never thought to wear that color, but it looked so good.
Well, we're going to have you film yourself as you try on these different colors, and then you can communicate how you're feeling. That would be really fantastic.
Do little short 1 minute videos. So this is the color, and this is how I felt after being with it for 3 days.
Definitely. Well, Mariska, I've shared before, I was a makeup artist for many
Mhm.
years as a part-time side gig to my career. And this is a story I've shared before, but I'll just get straight to the point that the makeup colors that we choose also say a lot about us. So, for example, if I'm going to have red lips, as I mentioned, I'm basically not hiding in the shadows. And if I'm
Mhm.
going to have a very bold eye with smoky tones and black eyeliner, excuse me, maybe some eyelashes, I'm showing up and saying, hello, here I am. So, as I was working at the makeup counter at Clinique, I always worked Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 6 to close, and then I worked Saturdays part-time while I was doing my job, while I was going for my doctorate. And this woman would come into the store, and she'd come in usually every week. She'd come in on a Monday and buy something from one counter, and then either on the Wednesday or Friday she'd return it to a different counter, buy something there, and then return it. So of course on a Monday night it was typically slow, right? So you see there's
Mhm.
three people in the makeup department and cosmetics. So long story short, she finally came to my counter to return her items. And she
Mhm.
had purchased a red lipstick and a very bold green eyeshadow. And I said to her, I asked her name and I said, I just have to ask you, what is it about these two colors that you like so much? Because I see you, we see you come in and you buy from Stila and you return it to Estee Lauder, then you return it to Chanel. And she said she wasn't really sure what it was. And I said, well, would you mind if I just gave you just a little bit of insight based on my experience in this work? And she said, no. I said, you're looking for attention because you've got the bright red and you've got green, which typically you would not put together
Mm-mm.
unless you're walking down a runway and that's whatever's been chosen. And she sat down in the chair and she got very quiet and she said, that's exactly right. She said, my husband doesn't ever notice me. And so I've been trying to get his attention. And I said, so every week you come over here and you purchase a red lipstick and a green eyeshadow, and then you return it to another counter and buy their red and their green. And she said, right, I just keep trying it and he's not noticing me. So it turns out I suggested that she stop buying the makeup and sit down and have a heart-to-heart conversation with him. And she ended up coming back and he was having an affair. He was cheating on her. And it didn't matter what she was going to wear. He wasn't looking at her. And so that was kind of an interesting lesson about how we think that outside things are going to give us what we need inside. And she said that I saved her a lot of money because she wasn't in time because she wasn't going to have to keep coming back and doing that.
Well,
And
at least that helped part of that conversation.
it really did. It really did. So I know for even when I'm doing these shows that I love makeup. I have a very bad eczema flare right now, which is why I'm wearing my glasses, but I love makeup, but I have to be in a certain mindset when I'm putting it on. If I'm going really bold with the eyes and then I'm going to turn down the lips, but this obviously we're talking about color. And so I do think that we can definitely affect our mood, or we're showing the world what our mood is based on the colors that we have on.
Yeah,
So, what would you say
definitely.
about you based on what you're wearing today?
Ooh, based on what I'm wearing. So this is a very dark blue, but it's blue nonetheless. So I do enjoy blue myself, a good color. And interestingly enough, red, really bold, I do not wear on my lips. I'll go for darker colors on my lips. So I'll do browns or deep reds, but more of the, I almost want to say rose reds. I don't really do. Also not pinks as much. Not a big pink fan. Not the artist pink, the color pink. So artist pink, yes. Color pink, not a fan.
Now, isn't that pink that you're wearing? Is that white or pink?
This is white.
It's white. Okay.
Yeah.
It looks a little pink from
I
here.
think I have in my whole cupboard, I have one shirt that's pink that I wear every now and again, but not a lot. And that's about it. My color choice in my cupboard, I have noticed after being a little bit more intentional with color, needs sprucing up.
Well, it's we all have to look at ourselves and say, hey, where am I today? Where do I want to go? So thanks for sharing that. That was very interesting.
It is my pleasure. And thank you for sharing the very interesting story that you had about how with the lady that you met, sometimes try to do stuff that doesn't work with the
Yes,
color.
but for her it was a process, and I think she got to the other side of it, which was good, and she was able to look at her behavior and understand a little bit. I know for me, I don't like wearing pink. I don't like pink nail polish or pink lipstick. I don't really like pink clothes. And I wasn't really sure what it was, but I've given it some thought. And
Mhm.
I have a vocal coach, Madeline Chan, who she's one of our team members and co hosts. And when I did my first voice lesson with her, she shared with me that I had a lot of masculine energy. And I wasn't really aware of that, but it made perfect sense. And so what I'm finding, what I'm learning about myself is pink is so, if you think about a baby, if it's a girl,
Mhm.
it's a pink room, it's a pink this, is a pink that. So I think I've lost that feminine, delicate side of myself as a business owner and somebody leading a team of people. And I have a lot of
Yeah.
masculine energy because I want to get the job done, right? So I think that's why I don't go to the softer side like a pink, because I don't really feel that, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And I think a lot of the time also the colors that we use depend on the perception we have of the color.
True.
So for me, um, my sister used to enjoy pink a lot. And I just thought, well, I'm not a fan. It's fine. So it's, I don't have an absolute aversion to it, but it's not a color that I often use for myself. I think as I grew older, I actually got to wear more pink than when I was younger. So, hence again, as we age, it also changes,
Very
right?
true.
We might have enjoyed pink a lot when we were young, right? When we were little girls. And as we grow older, we might have gone into purples or blues or a different color altogether, orange or something. Um, so that also changed with our age and how we mature. So I think it's interesting to be aware of how these things work for us and then to be intentional with what we do with that information.
I think that's a great way to sum it up. Fantastic. And hopefully, people out there will start looking in their cupboards, their closets, their makeup cases, their workout bag. For me, I was thinking the other day that I'm almost always in black. When I go to Solid Core, everything I have almost is black, and I have many dresses. I don't wear pants anymore for years, but almost everything I have is black, and I kind of like it because I can dress it up or dress
Mm-hmm.
it down. And when I have makeup, it's not clashing. If I want to go bold and bright, I don't have to worry, well, I'm wearing a pink dress and now I have to have, matching eye colors. So I guess that's just that's where I am right now in my masculine energy.
Well, black is very elegant and classic.
Yes, that little black dress. Definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely. Well, it's been so much fun having you here again, and I'm glad we got to stay and chat, which is lovely. And you did
Yes, me
share
too.
your contact information, but share it again if you would, please. I'm going to put up your deck. I think it's going to be at the end. Let's see. There it is.
It is at the end. There you go. Okay, so for those of us listening and not watching, contact information, you guys can get hold of me at Mariska at journeytodiscover.com. So the 2 is the number 2. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you. And yeah, if you guys want to do a little bit of a color experiment, please share that with us. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. And I would love to see what you guys get up to.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mariska. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day as you're 18 hours ahead of us here on the East Coast and you are already in tomorrow. So you're a good beacon of light that tomorrow is bright and glorious.
Oh, definitely. Definitely on this side of the planet, it is bright and glorious. You guys will have a fabulous tomorrow.
Thank you. You enjoy your today, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. We had such a great day. I think 9 shows today, which is close to a record. And every show, everyone's just showing up in their best form, totally professional, bringing their A game. And that's what it's all about. If you'd like to join us and be a guest on any of our shows, it's so easy. Just go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com. And across the top, you'll see book your session. If you want to watch the talking heads, you can watch it right there on our YouTube channel or on our website. Again, both are so easy, USA Global TV. If you think you have what it takes to be a talking head, you have to have 5 years of experience, you have to have a very large following, and you have to be passionate about what you do, and you have to be an expert in your field. You can contact me directly, and my email address is jacqueline@drjacqueline.com. That's all we have for you today. We've got some great shows for the rest of the week. I think Friday is also another banner, 9 shows. I better eat my Wheaties and get some sleep. I just love it. It's so much fun. All right. Thank you again for being here, and thanks for spreading the word about USA Global TV. Bye.